Scenario 1.
Miss Espinosa, bakit ganito itong mga output mo? Parang hindi to pinag-isipan ah.
Sorry po, ma'am.
Parang gawa to ng high school eh. Nakapagtapos ka ba ng college mo? Paano ka nakapasok dito sa company namin kung ganyan yung mga output mo?
Sorry po, ma'am.
Pav.
So makikita
At
po natin
home.
sa video na pinagalitan yung babae, which is yung nanay, yung boss niya, dahil sa ginawa niyang output. Then, after nun, umuwi yung nanay sa bahay nila. At nakita niya doon yung anak niya at doon niya binuhos yung inis niya at yung galit niya sa boss niya.
Anong nangyari dito sa bahay? Ba't ang kalat-kalat? Kung anong iniwan ko, ganun pa rin pag uwi ko, hindi ka man na nakapaglinis. Sorry, ma. Gumawa po kasi yung assignment.
Scenario 2.
So, yun. In this scenario naman po, makikita po natin na nasa ospital sila at parehas silang nurse. Tapos nag-usap po sila, yung isa, day off niya kinabukasan, yung isa, aalis siya kinabukasan. Ngayon, yung isa po, nagsabi siya sa kapwa niya nurse, yung babae po sa video, na baka pwede pong makapagpalit ng day off. Tapos, pumayag naman po yung isang nurse. Pero makikita din po sa, after nga pong pumayag, nung pauwi na po yung nurse na pumayag makipagpalit ng day off, makikita po natin sa video na sa isip niya, sinasabi niya na sana hindi na lang siya pumayag. Para may mga nagawa po siya na pang sarili niya sa araw na yun.
Uy, di ba day off mo bukas? Pwede ba ako makapagpalit sa'yo ng duty? Bakit? Kasi may kailangan lang akong gawin sa province eh. Kailangan ko umuwi.
Ganun ba? Okay, sige.
Thank you.
Ano ba yan? Imbis na makakapagpahinga na ako bukas, makakapamasyal pa sana ako. Bakit ba kasi nag-change pa siya ng schedule?
Scenario 3.
In this scenario, you will encounter the mother scolded her daughter because of a bad grade, and after a minute, a mother's heart softened and offers her a food so she could still feel the love of a mother and still feel the support even she had a bad grade.
Bakit ganito yung grade mo? Ang baba-baba naman. Ano ba nangyayari sa'yo? Nakakahiya ka. Sorry po, ma.
Pav. After 3 hours.
O, binilihan kita ng milk tea, tsaka ng favorite mo. Mag-aral ka ng mabuti, ah.
Scenario 4.
In this scenario, you will see that the girl is bragging that she has a lot of money, but when she asked to buy one of the most expensive cell phone, she has many excuses, and the truth is she doesn't really have enough money to afford it, and she's just trying to be in the trend.
Alam mo ba, sa sobrang dami kong ipon, hindi ko na alam kung saan siya gagastusin.
Gusto mo bumili ka na lang ng iPhone? Ang ganda niyang gamitin. Malinaw pa yung camera, tsaka
Ay, ang pangit,
mabilis.
ang pangit ng ano eh, ang pangit kasi ng iPhone eh. Android user kasi ako. Tsaka balita ko mabilis masira yung iPhone 14 Pro Max.
In Scenario 5, we film 3. Different defense. Mechanism.
Uy, alam mo ba, may mga bali-balita, may natanggal daw na employee kasi nagkakalat ng information about sa company na. Ganun. Hindi ako yun. Tsaka huwag mo nang isipin yun. Yan, pag natanggal ka, wala ka ng trabaho. Siguro may mga lesson lang talaga kung bakit nangyayari yung mga ganun bagay.
Personal. Reflection.
My personal insights about the video we made is that defense mechanisms is sometimes called adaptive mental mechanisms that reduce conflict and cognitive dissonance during sudden changes in internal and external. And I wasn't even aware of some mechanisms I kind of regularly use. It often gets very hard for me to keep up my time schedule for my study when the relapses start to kick in. And I have a bad habit of ignoring my problems and issues and pretending they don't exist. This makes it easier to me to cope up, but I am slowly learning to accept reality and face my fears instead of pretending they don't exist. But these behaviors are not inherently bad or should be avoided, and anyone likes to dive into a dream world once in a while, for example. But what is important is that you are somewhat aware of it, and especially if it hurts you or others. Sometimes I use formation as a defense method. Every time when I showed my anger or turn things around that I overact or they are the victim, sometimes I did understand them because it showed me they are aware of it, they are aware of the problem, but I didn't feel satisfied. I learned this since elementary school that I should never cry in front of my enemies because if I do, they know when to hurt me and can repeat hurting me, and I can talk with my friends about it. But sometimes I just want to cry to let all the feelings and negative energy out of me. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. This is what I learned and realization about defense mechanism. While doing this role playing about defense mechanism, I realized that I always use this mechanism in my everyday life without me knowing it. Defense mechanism defend people from negative emotion like guilt and worry. Even though they may not be aware of it, everyone uses them. In several instances in life, we are able to cope by using different defense mechanisms. For example, someone started smoking tobacco occasionally and start with one cigarette a day because they believe that moderate smoking wouldn't lead to nicotine dependence. Even though they was aware of the harmful effects of nicotine on their health, still continue to use it, and soon daily cigarette consumption grew. They will keep in convincing themselves that they smoke because of enjoying the act of doing so, and would be able to stop at any time. But by the time certain uncomfortable physical symptoms appeared and made the decision to stop using tobacco, it was much harder to stop than had expected. Denial is a defense mechanism that can be used in the scenario as stated. They was aware that smoking leads to dependence, but choose to ignore this information and deny the possibility that would also experience it. Wanted to indulge in smoking pleasure and avoid seeing reality as it was. Denial enabled them to avoid thinking about the harmful impacts of smoking on their health, which is understandable given how unpleasant those thoughts are. I frequently use displacement as a defense mechanism in variety of circumstances. It refers to using a different object to satisfy any emotional impulse that was brought on by another thing or event, such as anger and disappointment. For instance, I had done a lot of drawing when I was younger. I occasionally produced drawings that didn't turn out well, and that made me upset. But instead of attributing my disappointment to my lack of talent and acknowledging that I needed to practice more, I might I might argue with my sister over nothing or get upset right after a drawing session over something that had nothing to do with drawing. I substitute the things for my displeasure because it would be quite upsetting to consider my lack of creativity and ability.
I'm Hannah Cherina M. Loreniana, and the things that I have learned in this activity about defense mechanism are first, each and every one of us has our own type or way on how to respond and deal when we encounter certain situations. For some, it might be through means of denial, regression, or active formation, but for others, it can be sublimation, interjection, or repression, and many more. I have also noticed that those defense mechanisms that we often portray are the product of the events and situations that we have been through. We might have portrayed it consciously or unconsciously in order for us to protect ourselves and also to improve for our own betterment. Second, I have learned that it is okay also to have a negative defense mechanism as long as it doesn't hurt or affect other people negatively. Just like what I have said earlier, each and every one of us also handles different burdens and concerns, and by that, we should be aware and lenient also on how we treat other people. Lastly, I have learned that I have learned and noticed that sometimes starting off with a negative defense mechanism can also lead to a positive one. For example, in our short skit, one character chose not to dwell with what happened to her at work, in which, as an outcome, she was able to work on herself efficiently and she became successful in the end. So, to sum everything up, defense mechanisms are our own ways on how to react or respond to our surroundings. So, as much as possible, let us try to understand and learn why certain people act, and if we ourselves know that our defense mechanism can also possibly hurt other people, let us do our best to adjust so that we cannot spread the negativity to the people who surrounds and supports us.
Thank you for watching.